Hi guys, today we're going to be talking about memoirs. We're going to start out with a little bit of a lesson, and then we're going to move into another lesson. First starting with real life lessons. I've seen some mispronunciations of memoir on YouTube, and I thought it would be fun, especially since I want lore to be the central theme of my channel, to talk about memoirs and what they are. And then I'll also just dive into like the actual pathing you should take with which dungeons you should farm, at what force levels, stuff like that. I'm going to go ahead and actually just read the intro off of Wikipedia. I don't want to get called out for plagiarizing, so I'm just going to say now that I'm quoting it. A memoir is any nonfiction narrative writing based in the author's personal memories. The assertions made in the work are thus understood to be factual. While memoir has historically been defined as a subcategory of biography or autobiography since the late 20th century, the genre is differentiated in form, presenting a narrowed focus. A biography or autobiography tells the story of a life, while a memoir tells often the story of a particular event or time, such as a touchstone moment and turning point from the author's life. The author of a memoir may be referred to as a memoirist or a memorialist. So I think the interesting thing, at least to teach you guys, is that a memoir, in the context of literature and in the context of this game, the chapters that we play through, all of the story in this game are quite literally memoirs, that they're written in memoir form from the narration of the characters that we're interacting with and that we're pulling for in our summons, and that we play with on our teams. And I just kind of I know a lot of people have been appreciating the art, they've been appreciating the music and the story, but I wanted to point out how beautiful it is and how poetic it is that we collect memoirs, and that we are really experiencing memoirs. They are broken up into pieces, and we really have to work for that story to get it all. But I think it's beautiful, and I wanted to share that with you guys for anyone who didn't know about that. But let's go ahead and just dive into what you probably came here to see, and that's how you should be farming your memoirs, what you should aim for, and what sets you want to be looking at for PvE and PvP. It is of Kings and Soldiers, and this particular one is actually from our Tempestuous Officer event. This is an interesting set. You guys are going to have a lot of access to this while you we're grinding that most recent event. And if you're new and you're grinding that event, you will probably have a lot of these pieces. They may not be 4-star, and that's okay. The cool thing about this set is that you actually have 6 options. You'll notice that there's a set that you can get from the actual dungeon, and there's a set that you can get from this event, and they both share the same set bonus, so they're interchangeable. You'll have a lot more access to this one, and so you're going to be able to get pretty decent primary stats very easily on it. This is basically your introductory memoir set. Equipping the 3-piece of this set, getting 15% bonus attack, and then getting, attack percent primaries with 1 crit rate or a crit damage 1, depending on the character, depending on your weapons. This is a great starting set. Dreams of Colchis. Colchis. Dreams of Colchis. This set is going to increase your crit rate, and that's all it does. It's honestly not very good. It's okay while you're kind of ranking up. You're in like maybe 30s, 40, 50k range force, because it's just stats, right? It's easy access. You've probably got really bad memoirs, and just equipping that for the set bonus right there, 15% crit rate, easy. That's great. It's better than nothing. The Wanted Man. Now this set is really good actually for PvE. While you're gearing up, you're going to also have access to this set a lot. Having the 2-piece equipped, or even the 3-piece for some characters like A2, it's going to be really strong. It's just really easy stats. Crit rate and crit damage are really strong. The caveat with this set, this specific piece, the Prey, the one that looks like a doll, is the only one out of the 3 that can roll crit rate as the primary stat. So you're going to want to have crit rate on this one and then attack percent on the other 2. Baal's Letters. Now this is going to be your introductory PvP set. You're going to have a really easy time farming this set. You're going to have a lot of pieces from this set. You will probably end up using this set early on in PvE before you get access to a chance for conflict. If you can get good primary stats, you get good secondary stats, then this set, it'll be fine as off pieces, or it'll be fine as a 2-piece set. But you really want to try and avoid using this set in PvE content. This is going to be great to equip on your team starting out in PvP when you're climbing the ladder. A Chance for Conflict. This is a really interesting set, and this is actually going to be your strongest set for PvE, but probably one of your more difficult sets to farm. It's going to increase your attack by 20% or 30% depending on the set bonus, and lower your defense by 20 or 30% for 60 seconds. Now the wording on this one is a little confusing for some people, but I want to go ahead and clarify that this permanently increases your attack by 30%. You are at the start of battle inflicted with this debuff basically that lowers your defense by 20 or 30%. That goes away after 60 seconds. And to this set, in PvE specifically, is that you're not going to be fighting any difficult content in the majority of those 60 seconds. You're going to be fighting wave 1 and wave 2, which are usually weaker mobs, and then wave 3 is where you're going to be fighting the boss, or just an equally easy wave or something, so by the time you reach wave 3 or so, that debuff has fallen off. And that's just what makes it so strong. It's double the amount of attack that you would get on the normal attack set. Blighted Flowers set. This one is going to give you cooldown reduction at the start of the battle, and this is the one that's recommended to use in PvP. Ephemeral Memories. This set increases the chance that your normal attacks will be a 3-chain or more. You may notice that sometimes when your characters auto attack, they'll only attack once, or sometimes they'll attack 2 or 3 times. That is randomly generated, and this set is supposed to increase the chance of that happening. I just don't see the value in this set compared to some of the other ones that we've gone over. This is a really weird, really niche set. Maybe you would use it on your chainers, but I don't see a place for this set in the game, possibly ever. As for the rest of the sets I'm going to be going over as well, they're there. Feel free to collect them. They may have some potential value in the future. I just don't expect to see any characters introduced or any character reworks that make it so that defense and HP gain offensive benefits. I don't see that ever happening in this game. So until that does happen, or if it ever happens, those stats are just going to be useless as bonuses on sets. And this too. This is just quirky. Musings of a Hunter. This is just going to increase your defense. And the Young Lord's Studies. This is just going to increase your health. Don't use either of these two. Alright, so a future retrospective. This set is going to function similarly to A Chance for Conflict. where it's going to permanently increase your defense percentage but lower your attack percentage for 60 seconds. The Ambitious Land reduces damage taken 3 times at the start of a wave, and I believe this works on all 3 waves. So this is a pretty good defensive one, but doesn't really have a place in the current meta. So to start out your Memoir grind, this is how you're going to do it. You're going to click on quests. You're going to go into subquests. If you are new to the game, or if you haven't done this event and cleared out all of these event summons, then this is where you're going to start. You are going to clear out these quests. You're going to do the highest difficulty that you can, which is likely, if you're new, probably 3, maybe 4. It's okay if you can't farm 5, but this is going to give you that attack set that I mentioned earlier of kings and soldiers. It's going to be really nice to have this stuff just to clear your story, maybe to clear some of the other event quests. But once you reach around 60k, you're going to want to stop farming this. You'll come over here to the Witch's Memories, and you'll look at floor 6 and floor 7. If you can clear floor 7, then you should. Wind is a pretty strong element, so most people should be able to clear this. Fire is another pretty strong element, for PvE at least, so most people should be able to comfortably clear this too. You may need to do 7 on manual for a little while, and that's okay. But this dungeon is just really good. It's got the attack set, it's got the crit damage set, it's got the crit rate set, which sometimes is good, and it's got the agility set, which is going to help you get your introductory PvP set. Okay, so that's why this dungeon is just really great. The Witch is also just one of the easier bosses, so that is why I recommend that. All right, let's start out by talking about the golden ratio. I only know about this because of Genshin Impact and the math nerds from that community. But basically, attack percent, critical strike chance, and critical damage. Those 3 stats are going to scale together exponentially. I explained it in my other video, but I'm going to cover it again here just because this is kind of a good time to talk about it. If you were plotting some points on a 3-dimensional graph where you have an x-axis, you have a y-axis, and you have a z-axis, you would be plotting 3 different numbers, right? So one of them would represent attack, one would represent crit, and one would represent crit damage. There's an ideal path as those numbers change and as they increase, which is the most optimal damage. And this maximum damage is achieved by balancing those 3 stats. If you increase one of the stats too much, then you are going to be severely lacking in one or both of the other 2 stats. And that's going to hurt you. A lot of people think that having high crit rate is going to increase their damage because they're going to be critting a lot, but it's just, you're just going to be critting a lot. You're going to be doing twice the amount of your damage, but if your attack is low, then your baseline damage is going to be low, and your crits aren't going to be critting for very much damage. You're just going to be critting. Okay, does that make sense? Next on the agenda is going to be Officer 9 and 10. I would advise that you don't move on to this section until you can comfortably clear 10. 9 is fine, you're still going to get some 4-star memoirs from there, but 10 is obviously going to be more efficient. So that's the only reason I advise that. in this dungeon is where you're going to pick up your PvE set. You're going to have been grinding the witch's memories for strong primary stats, looking for, you know, memoirs that have a good primary stats and also have some decent secondary stats. And then once you are stronger, you're around 100k, you'll come over here. This dungeon is annoying. It can be a pain. You may need even up to 110k force to comfortably farm this on 10. But this is going to be your next step. When you can come over here, you should. It's okay if you end up like looking over and it says that you failed one of your auto farms, but you've been farming it fairly consistently. That happens to me sometimes. I think it's just variance with crits and bad luck with targeting, the ads respawning and the blind and all of that. It's an annoying dungeon. But this is, where you're gonna get your PvE set, a chance for conflict. And the reason that you're coming here next is because PvE needs to be your priority in this game. You need to be powering up your account and preparing for events so that you can clear out all of the events and get the maximum amount of rewards. Pretty soon we're going to be getting subjugations, we're going to be getting tower, we're going to be getting abyss level story quests. You need to be prepared to clear this content. You should not be focusing on PvP as your priority. You need to be powering up your account and preparing yourself to clear content. And that is why this set is so important. You need to increase your force as much as possible, but you also need to pay attention to your stats. You don't want to neglect your itemization, your stats. It's important that you are constantly paying attention. You know, you want your characters to be around 40 to 50% crit rate, 180 to, let's say, 220% crit damage, aiming for 14,000 to 20,000 maybe attack. I don't really know what it looks like on high end because I haven't achieved. I'm still farming this dungeon myself. Also, you'll be able to continue farming Bell's Letters, which is going to help you get ready for PvP as well. You can and you should be climbing the ladder as you're playing, but you should be using this set in PvP. Do not ever take this set into PvP, okay? So now let's talk about stat priorities. When you're looking at your primary stats for your memoirs... Whoa! My cat just knocked over all of the water bottles that I have on my desk. Can you believe it? Alright. When you're looking at primary stats, you're going to want to pretty much always aim for attack percent, crit rate, or crit damage. Even in PvP, I don't think that you're going to want to use flat agility as a primary stat. I could be wrong. I just think you'll probably be missing out on those percentage rolls, which are pretty valuable. Primary stats are always going to be guaranteed to hit that maximum, which is great. But when you're looking at secondary stats, attack percentage is going to equal crit rate, which is going to equal crit damage. All three of those are going to be equal in value. Following that is going to be defense percent, and then HP percent. Those are going to be equal in value. And then above that, below that is going to be just any flat stat that you see, with agility being the worst stat in PvE. It doesn't actually do anything. As far as I know, as far as I've been told, I've read a lot about it. It doesn't look like it actually affects PvE at all. So try to avoid it. It's going to be a dead stat on your gear. Finally, once you've farmed up a really good of conflict and strife set, you've got a really good PvE set going, you're comfortably sitting around, let's say, 120,000 force. You've got really balanced stats, you're looking really good. That's when you're going to move over here to the aberrant memories. I call this dragon, some people call it moth. It is what it is. you're going to be farming this set here, Blighted Flowers, the one that has my boy Griff on it. This set is going to give you that cooldown reduction at the start of battle. And that's going to be really helpful once you start to get to higher ranks in PvP. I'll explain more about how the brackets work in my PvP video, but I want you guys to know that it's not a waste of time to farm this set, but you shouldn't be farming it right now. Unless you're at 120k, you've got your built set, like you're already plowing through all of the content because you've finished farming Officer and you've got a Chance for Conflict just fully built and ready to go on all 3 characters. Not to mention all of the other characters that you need to have ready for Subjugation. At that point, if you've got all that done, then you can come down here and you're going to be autoing floor 10. There's no reason to be doing floor 9 at this point. You need to be doing floor 10. You should be a PvE god by the time you're done farming Officer. But the reason that this set is going to be so good for you in PvP once you've reached that higher rank is that everyone is going to be building it, is the thing. It is good. You start to get to this point where everyone is very strong and you're going to auto attack fast, but you're not going to be fighting against people who are getting one shot by auto attacks. You're going to need to hit them with skills, and you're going to want to hit them with your skills before they hit you with their skills. And that's where this set comes in handy. Now your stat priority for PvP is going to be a little bit different. Agility, which was awful for PvE, is going to be your best stat in PvP. And when I say best stat, it does outweigh other stats as a secondary, but I don't think it's going to outweigh, you know, the triad of stats from PvE. Crit rate, crit damage, and attack percent are still going to be your go-to stats for primaries and secondaries. It's just that if you see agility and you happen to get some rolls into agility, then awesome. I think most of the agility that you're going to find on your characters is going to come from the Fleet Foot passive on your weapons, not so much from your gear. But just keep an eye out for agility. So here's the actual breakdown for you guys, sorry. It's going to be agility, and then attack percent is equal to crit chance, which is equal to crit damage, which is greater than defense percent, which is equal to HP percent, same as before, which is greater than flat stats. So it's pretty much the same. It's exactly the same. The only difference is that agility is actually just really good here. It's very valuable. And then also the cooldown reduction. The only ways of achieving that cooldown reduction is from this set or from using your dark memory weapons, which are going to take time to farm up, right? You may not have them at a high enough level where it's worth using them for PvP.
How could this?
Why is this happening? Can you just attack him? Jeez. And that is exactly why you don't want to come into this dungeon until you're ready. It's scary. There was no reason for him to attack me that many times. And there was no reason for him to live with 1 health. That's so silly. I had so many attacks ready. I know I had it on auto, but I didn't want to touch it because the whole point is that you guys need to be able to do this stuff on auto and do it in rounds of 10 so that you can be efficient. Now, when it comes to enhancing your memoirs, you're going to open up your menu and come over here to enhance. I recommend that the first thing you do is just go into list cell, go to your memoir section, hit sell, hit auto select, sell those. Keep doing that until you can't sell them anymore. This is only going to auto select 1 and 2 star medals. Memoirs. This is probably how you're going to make most of your gold in the game. As you can see, it's like 5 million, I think. I have a hard time handling big numbers. You're then going to select all of the 3 stars. You know, if you're in the early game, look through these, check to see if any of them have good stats. They might be upgrades. Otherwise, you're just going to select as many of these so that you keep your inventory clear. You can only hold up to 500 of these. It's surprisingly easy to accidentally fill up on that, and then you'll just end up with your gift box full of memoirs. But what you'll do is you'll hard press on these. This is pretty decent. It's got crit damage here, crit damage here. These two, I mean, these are at least percentages, and this is a raw stat, which isn't great, but it is attack. And this is the set that I've been looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and, we'll lock it, and then we're going to hit enhance. Now currently, and for 12 days remaining, so if you're watching this in the future, this is probably not happening anymore, but it's likely that they'll do this again. Glorious success rate up campaign. It's a 100% chance to get glorious, and it's a 100% chance to upgrade. So this is currently the least expensive time to level these. If you find any pieces that have good primary stats, you might as well level them to 15. Even a piece like this, which isn't so great, I could throw this on someone for subjugation because it's a good set piece. It's got some crit damage on it, and it's got a bunch of other useless things on it, but that's good enough for me. So you're going to hit enhance, you're going to hit multi-enhance, then you'll hit enhance, and you'll just let it go. In the future, you may, when this event is no longer active, you may want to pay close attention because this could get pretty expensive. Maybe you'll want to stop at 12, maybe you'll want to stop at 8. Don't overinvest in bad memoirs. So I got a little lucky here. Every time you upgrade it, the primary stat is going to increase. That's this first one here. And every 4 levels, I think, maybe every 3 levels, it will increase the secondary stats. Only one of them, and it's random. So you could start with a pretty decent memoir and end up with a pretty bad one. It's possible that I only got rolls into defense percent and HP percent, and then this basically would have been garbage. It's also possible that all of my rolls go into crit damage, which would make this really good, right? It wouldn't have any attack on it, but I could compensate that on another piece. I'm not gonna cover this in the video, but I am gonna post a link to the image in the description. It's gonna be a graph that covers which pieces can have what stats as primaries. And then it's also gonna display the maximum bonus that you can get for your secondary stats and your primary stats, which is very helpful. A lot of the time you'll be farming memoirs and you'll be like, why can't I get the primary stat that I'm looking for? And it's because it doesn't even exist on that piece. So this chart will help a little bit with that. I will go ahead and mention that since it doesn't say on the chart, the fist icon is going to be attack. And the division symbol is going to be crit rate. Yeah. And then the foot is going to be agility. But that is all that I have to say in regards to memoirs today. I hope that this was helpful and that it was insightful. I suppose the last thing that I will say regarding memoirs is that you should introduce yourself to the library. Come down here to the encyclopedia, click on Memoirs over here and check out the stories for these. Some of them are pretty interesting. You might end up finding that you have a favorite set. I myself have not had a chance to read all of these, so I can't claim to have a favorite yet, but I do like this one because it has Griff on it. I fought for this country because I believed in our convictions, but watching friends die around me tipped the scales, and I lost myself. And yes, I could have turned my back on fighting and ran, but that would have been its own kind of choice, and I couldn't bear to lose anyone else, so I decided to keep fighting. How beautiful. I love this game. Anyways, good luck out there farming your memoirs. I hope you guys get lots of attack percent rolls, lots of crit rate rolls, lots of crit damage rolls. Have a good one.